Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Capnclydes MTG. We have another day, the 27th to be exact, of Ixalan, The Lost Caverns, leaks, spoilers, reviews, and everything in between. As we get a taste of some more Ixalan, we got a couple commander cards, followed up by the actual set. So before we get into it, though, don't forget, comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Help support the channel. Hit us up over on Rumble as well. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube. Links in the description to the eBay TCG player store, where you can go buy your cards that you need for your decks straight from the box opening videos. All those cards go up for sale. First come, first serve, of course. There's also a few more things in there. There's an email, Patreon, all that good jazz. You want to hit it up to help support the channel. So appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get into it. We got quite a bit to cover. So let's start with Commander. We get a Fist of the Suns reprint, 3 colorless artifact that you may play one of every color mana than the mana cost of the spells that you play. Um, it's okay. It's just been several reprints, so um, not probably a whole lot of value, although it is full art, so we'll have to see. The next thing coming up is we have the Temple Bell. It's very interesting. A 3 colorless artifact that you tap, each player draws a card. So in Commander, this is some real pillow hugging stuff going on. Um, Outside of that, whether it be good enough or not, I don't know. But this is really the going rate for each player to draw a card. So we'll have to just wait and see. Now, on to the real set. First, we have Hurl into History. This uncommon counter spell is 2 blue and 3 instant. Counter target artifact or creature spell. Then discover X, where X is its mana value. So counter a spell for 5, and you get the Cascade. Don't know how good that is because normally counterspell decks don't want a Cascade because they run counter spells. But in Commander, it may be kind of cool, so we'll have to wait and see. Next, we have one of the Restless Ridge lines. As we go back, as we finish up the land cycle with this, enters the battlefield tap, produces red and green. For 2 red and a green, you get a 3/4 red green dinosaur. Um, that whenever it attacks another target creature gets +2/+0 to end a turn, untap that creature. Very interesting, kind of a pseudo vigilance kind of thing. So I think all the man lands are great. So whatever. Moving on, we have Defossilize, a black and 4 sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature explores, then explores again. So not only do we have graveyard manipulation, we get 2 explorers. We could put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, or just draw 2 lands off the top of our deck. Both good options, so pretty sweet. We have Reanimation. Next we have Malamet Warscribe, 2 white and 3 for a 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +2/+1 to end a turn. Limited All-Star at best. 5 mana is just way too much for any other format. Maybe Commander might find some use for this as a Cat Warrior, maybe, but it'll be good and limited. 5 mana, 4/3 is not the best, but the ability to give all the other creatures +2/+1 as well, pretty good rate. Next we have Inti, Sun's Caretaker, a red and 1 for a 2/2 legendary creature, human knight. Whenever you attack, you may discard a card. When you do, play +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature. That creature gains trample to the end of turn. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until your next end step. So we got a lot going on here. Notice that this says whenever you attack. It doesn't have to be this card. This card just has to be in play because it's a legendary creature. So you can only have one in play at a time. But as long as it's in play, if you swing with a token, you're going to get to um, put a +1/+1 counter on that attacking creature if you want to. But I think the big thing here is the ability to discard a card to exile the top card of your library and then be able to play it. That's basically a draw spell. You just have to play the card off the top of your deck immediately. And with this being 2 mana and in a deck of kind of like a mono red style, this is exactly what you're looking for. Extra lands in your hands? Cool. Discard and make my stuff bigger, play stuff off the top of my deck. Oh, did I flip over a land? Well, I'll just play my land from the card it's exiled instead of the land in my hand. It's a great card. I think this has lots of promise, not just in Standard, but also in some of the older formats as well. So, then we have the Compass Gnome. Um, two colorless for 2/1. So when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card or cave card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that card on top. We've seen cards like this all the time. Great mana fixer for limited, but that's about as far as it's going to go. Next we have Brass's Tunnel Grinder. So very interesting. Red and 2 for a legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards plus 1. So you can play this for 3 just to draw a card if you want, which is not bad. At the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, put a boar counter on the Tunnel Grinder. Then, if there are 3 or more boar counters on it, remove 3 of those counters and transform it. It transforms to a land that taps for red. Whenever you cast a permanent spell using mana produced by this land, discover X, where X is the spell's mana value. So, basically Cascade. This seems really good in a red deck. Not just limited. I mean, Commander, definitely. I could even see this being very good in a standard deck because it does replace itself, and you can easily discard 1 card to draw 2 cards for 3. Not the best rate for other cards that do the same effect, but the ability to flip this into a land and then start cascading into spells is just insane. Alright, next we have Helping Hand. 1 white sorcery, return target creature card, mana value 3 or less, from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. We've seen cards like this several times. It's great for limited. Probably about the best we're going to get out of it. We have the Restless Anchorage, I guess. Anyway, it's blue-white. This is the blue-white man land. Taps for blue and white, comes in tapped. For a 1 white and a blue, it becomes a 2/3 white and blue bird creature token with flying, still a land. Whenever it attacks, you get a map token, which is really sweet. This may be one of the better lands. It'll definitely help make blue-white control decks viable since they'll have a land to hit with. Alright, so next we have the Kitesail Larcenist. Blue and 2 for this 2/3 flying ward 1. Not terrible. When it enters the battlefield, for each player, choose up to 1 other target artifact or creature that player controls. For as long as the Kitesail Larcenist remains on the battlefield, the chosen permanents become treasure artifacts with tap, sack this artifact ability, blah blah, and lose all other abilities. So basically, it's a removal spell while this is on the board. This is amazing for blue, especially in Commander environment when you could choose 1 thing for every player. Maybe good enough for Standard. It's stretching it for 3 blue. But if you're playing a blue-white control deck, this may be a way for you to deal with things that are on the board if you can't counter them first, which normally is what they struggle with. So maybe it is a good card. Next we have Braided Net. A blue and 2 artifact. Enters the battlefield with 3 net counters on it. So you tap it, remove a net counter. Tap another target non-land permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated for as long as it remains tapped. You can craft with an artifact for a blue and 1 if you do. For a blue and 3, you have an artifact called a Braided Q-Whip. Cool Whip. Anyway, a blue and 3 will tap and let you draw a card for each artifact you control, then put Braided Cool Whip to the owner's library, 3rd from the top. This might be really good for Commander with all the mana rocks and everything, because you only get to use it once, but 4 mana to draw like 4 or 5 cards and then put this 3rd from the top doesn't seem terrible. Plus, it does tap stuff down. It may see some action in some control decks as Standard, but Standard would be the only place other than Commander's probably sees play. Alright, moving on. Next we have Ogier Papapatik, Deepest Epoch. Oh god, these names are killing me. So it's 2 blue and 2 for a 4/3 god. Flying. Whenever you cast instant spell from your hand, it gains rebound. So only instants. If you don't know what rebound is, you exile it on your next upkeep, you cast it again for free. Whenever this card dies, you return to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control with 3 time counters on it. So the transformed card is Temple of Cynical Cynical Time. Okay, so it taps, you add 1 blue, and remove a time counter from it. For a blue and 2, you can transform it, activate only when it has no time counters on it, and only as a sorcery. So you must tap it for blue mana 3 times. The 4th time, you can flip it back over to the creature. Still seems good. Not as good as normal man lands because it has to come in as a creature first, which it may get dealt with, locked down, exiled, which then it doesn't become a land. Plus, you only get 3 mana out of it 3 times, so it's kind of, you gotta be careful how you use it. So this may not be the best card for blue. Moving on, we have Reaper Claw Raptor, red and 2 dinosaur for a 4/3. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, Reaper Claw Raptor deals 4 damage to that player. This is a really good card for red. 3 mana for a 4/3 is already great. The ability to deal 4 damage to that player if they do things not on their turn is really good. Great against control decks, great against removal spells. This very much feels like a Vexing Devil. Because it's basically what Vexing Devil does with the same kind of power. Except if you don't hit hitting the Vexing Devil causes the ability to trigger this. Anything outside of your turn causes this to trigger. So yeah, they may not take 4 damage if they just kill it on their turn, but then they're tapped out on their turn, and that's kind of what you want. So I think this card has some good legs for standard at least. All right, moving on, we have Curator of Sun's Creation, a red and 3 for a 3/3. Human Artificer, whenever you discover again for the same value. This ability triggers only once each turn. Oh my god. So, if you discover for 4, which is basically Cascade, you may Cascade again for the same value. Limited, this is going to be insane. And if you pull this off in Standard, it could very well be game-wrecking. Going to be great in Commander, obviously, with the Discover deck. So, yeah, this is going to be... It may not be a powerhouse card or a broken card. It's only 4 mana and 3 damage. Is easy to come by to kill it. But it can definitely have some serious impact on games, guys. Keep an eye out for it. Next, we have Subterranean Schooner. Blue and 1 for a 3/4 vehicle that crews for 1. Whenever it attacks, target creature that crewed it this turn explores. Interesting. Could make the creatures bigger. And only takes 1, so not terrible. Definitely a limited all-star. But probably about it since it's in blue. All right, next we have a Queen's Bay Paladin. 2 black and 3 for a 5/4. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, return up to 1 target vampire card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Usually lose life equal to its mana value. I was going to say this is busted, but losing life equal to the mana value is definitely going to hinder how many times and how much you bring stuff back. Now, if you're playing a lifelink, that's a whole different story. Still, limited all-star, great card. In Standard, it could be good because 5 mana to reanimate may be good enough. Just because they kill what you reanimate because it's a big nappy, you still get a 5/4 and you get to re-swing and try again every time you swing. So this may see some play in Standard, but that may be about it. But limited play, this is definitely going to be powerhouse. Next, we have another reprint. Resplendent Angel gets reprinted. If you don't remember this bad boy from last time, or girl, or whatever, Angel. 2 white and 1 for a 3/3 flyer. At the beginning of your next step, if you gain 5 or more life, you get to make a free 4/4 white Angel token creature with flying and vigilance. And for 3 white and 3, until the end of turn, the Angel gets +2/+2 in lifelink. So, left unfettered, it will just start generating 4/4 flying vigilance Sarah Angels. Every turn it smacks you in the face, and after it hits you once or twice, the game's probably going to be over, because if it's getting in that many times, that means the other flyers are too, and you're probably dead. This is a good value, great reprint, glad to see it. Next we have Earthshaker Dreadmaw, 2 green and 4 for a 6/6 with trample. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other dinosaur you control. I mean, it could be okay in Standard in dinosaur deck. We'll have to see how that perceives itself. But in Limited with the dinosaur theme, this thing is going to be house because you're going to get to draw 2 or 3 cards out of it. Um, at least one probably because you're going to have at least one other dinosaur. And if not, 6 mana for a 6/6 trampler and limited is just good enough. So, moving on. Next we have Enterprising Scallywag. There's a Dockside Extortionist again. Goblin Pirate. Red and 1 for this 2/2 at the beginning of your end step. If you descend to this turn, create a treasure token. Powerhouse. This will go in several commander decks. Red Rush. I think it's going to be really good as standard. Because a 2/2 for 2 is just good. And if something goes to your graveyard, you get a free treasure token. I mean, technically tapping a treasure and sacrificing it sends it to the graveyard. I do believe causing this to re-trigger. So once you get a treasure in play, you will always have a treasure in play after your end step. So it seems really good. All right, moving on. Next we have the black-red land. Comes in play tap, makes black-red. For a black, red, and 1 until the end of the turn, it becomes a 2/3 black and red insect creature with menace, still a land. Whenever it attacks, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. That's also very powerful. This is probably one of the other best lands. Menace, or the old menace, is not as good as flying. But the ability to discard a card and draw is really good. And if you're playing black-red, you probably got tons of removal, which means there's probably nothing going to be in your way regardless. But it does involve a lot of mana. I do think it's playable. I think it's probably second place to the white-blue one. Just saying. All right, moving on. Next we have Pathfinding Axejaw. Okay. Green and 3 for a 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, it explores. Okay, so maybe you get a 5/4 for 4. Seems great for limited. Probably about it. But hey, whatever. Next we have Clay Fired Bricks. White and 1 for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle, gain 2 life. That's already a great effect. Craft with an artifact, 2 white and 5. Well, that's a lot. You have to exile this and exile another artifact you control or an artifact from the graveyard. Return this card transformed. So by exiling one other thing, you get an artifact called Cosimium Kiln. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Seems bad. I hate to say that, but I mean, unlimited it might be okay because it is mana fixing. But 7 mana is a lot, and all you get out of it's 2 2/2s once you flip and exile another artifact or out of the graveyard. But in limited, that's probably fine because it's probably something you need. And it is basically a buff for your entire field. So, limited at best, I would have to say 7 mana in a white deck's probably not happening in a standard environment or any environment, really. All right, Dowsing Device. Red and 1 artifact. Whenever this or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, up to 1 target creature you control gets +1/+0, gains haste till end of turn. Then you get to transform this if you control 4 more artifacts. When it's a land, you have the Geode Grotto. Taps for a red and 2 until end of turn. Target creature gains haste and gets +X/+0, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Limited all-star at best. Probably won't do much past that. It's probably going to be okay for Commander. There's lots of artifact decks out there. Probably get down with this. All right, moving on. Next we have the Bat Cavern. So this is an enchantment that's a white and 2. When this enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying for each mana spent from a cave used to cast this spell. So if you use 3 caves, you can get 3 1/1s. Good rate. Whenever the cave enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And probably limited unless there's enough caves to make a cave deck. Because at best you're going to get 3 1/1 flyers and a 2/2 flyer. So you'll get a 2/2 flyer and 2 1/1s. But flying is hard to deal with. So limited probably going to be good. For standard, we're going to have to wait and see what kind of cave action we got going on to see how good this is really going to be. So with that said, guys, thanks a lot for watching. That's all the leaks and spoilers we have for today. Until next time, be kind. And as always, I hope to see you across from the game table. Maybe at the pre-release. Hell, who knows? Might find time to do this among everything else got going on.